Now that is a poll question.
And that poll question is...
Well, hold on. No, we're going to run this poll question by Tim Ring, and he might think this is a garbage poll question.
Okay,
so
well, Tim, we'll put it this way. I'll present you the poll, and if you approve, I'll replay the Gambo bit. And if you don't approve, just, scream at Burnsy. It wasn't my fault. You can only choose one of the following, and you cannot assume that both of them could happen together. Which would you rather have happen Sunday for the Cardinals? Kyler Murray plays great, or the Cardinals lose?
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Now, this is just for Sunday or the final 5 games
We're
of
taking
the
this
season?
1 week at a time, just like JG, just like Kyler Murray.
Day to day, baby.
I would rather Kyler Murray play great. Because there are no givens and certainties about losing out and where you're going to pick. The New England Patriots are right there with the Cardinals. It's going to come down to strength of schedule. If those teams lose out, you may end up being really bad and still picking third and out of the Drake May, Caleb Williams sweepstakes anyway. So for me, Burnsy, I just look at it this way. Kyler playing great gives you more options. You feel better maybe about your future if you're leaning towards keeping Kyler. It makes it easier to trade him if he plays well and you want to move off Kyler in that contract and take May or Caleb Williams. So I think only good things can happen if Kyler plays great. So I will take the Kyler playing great option.
Is that a Gambo soundbite worthy poll question on this Friday afternoon?
Yeah, sure.
Now that is a poll question.
Dang it, I hate it. I'm not going to manufacture a
Debate.
disagreement. We're going to talk about it. I mean, we specifically planned it out so we could talk about it.
You're never going to get a job on First Take if you can't fake.
I know.
You can't fake.
You're right.
An opposite opinion.
How am I ever going to sit next to Stephen A. Smith? How on earth am I ever going to do a TV show with Skip Bayless
So let me
if
guess.
I can't fake? Although, did you see? I laughed in spite of myself. I really did. Did you see the commercial they played over the weekend for Skip Bayless's TV show, the one where he's at the funeral?
I have seen it, but the volume's never been up.
It was tasteless. It really was very tasteless. But it was like...
And Michael Irvin is looking on. What is it?
Skip Bayless is supposedly delivering a eulogy at a guy's funeral, and instead he goes on some rant about why a team lost a football game. And Keyshawn and Michael Irvin are at first looking at him like how inappropriate this is, but then they ultimately are nodding their head in agreement with the take or shaking their head no at the take. It's so tasteless. It's so tacky. It's so awful. And I laughed. I saw it. I kind of giggled. That's kind of funny. Oh God, what's wrong with you for thinking that's funny? There's nothing funny about that. Skip Bayless is not good. Don't laugh. And then I laughed. But anyway, where was I? We're not going to manufacture debate. I
think
agree.
you're about to agree with me, yes.
I agree with Tim Ring. I would rather have Kyler Murray play well.
You know who else agrees with the both of you?
65% of the audience.
67%. 78.
Just a hair under for both of you. 62% would rather Kyler Murray play great, and put me in that category too. 38% would rather just the Cardinals lose.
Okay.
Regardless of how Kyler plays.
And thank you, and Mitch. That ended up being a pretty decent poll question. It's you can assume, right? You can go, okay, Kyler Murray plays well, it means they win. Not necessarily. Kyler can play well and they can lose.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Kyler can play not well and they can win. I mean, every scenario can happen. But the question is, I think, is kind of like this fundamental, what do we want? And okay, so let's say I hit zoom out and say it's for the whole season. Okay, Kyler plays well or the Cardinals lose. Would you answer the question the same way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because with the same philosophy behind it. The Cardinals will it'll be easier to do whatever it is the Cardinals want to do if Kyler Murray plays well down the stretch here. We were talking about it a couple segments ago. There's a good chance Monty Ossenford already knows which way he's going.
Certainly possible.
There's a really good chance that he's not going to put this ultimate decision on what happens in these 5 games and these other 3. I mean, Kyler's got a pretty decent body of work now. Maybe not in this offense. But is he Monty Ossenford's guy? Like when Monty Ossenfort watches Kyler Murray, I don't care what he says publicly. And Monty, if he's listening, he knows this. Like, what he says publicly right now doesn't matter. It's what he does after the season we're going to find out.
Yes.
If he rolls with Kyler, then we know. If he tries to deal Kyler and he takes Drake May or Caleb Williams, then we know. We don't know what he thinks right now.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to come out and say what he thinks.
No, he's not. I do wonder, and this is fast-forwarding 5 weeks into the future now, I have often thought, like, that day after the season ends, that week after the season ends, is there a press conference where Monty Ossenfort comes out and says, he's our guy. He's our guy. He's our quarterback. We're not moving him. He's going to be back next year. He's going to go through a full training camp. We're going to go into the season with Kyler Murray as our quarterback, and that's that. Now, it probably wouldn't be wise for him to do that in terms of a leverage standpoint with the draft, right? Because if you're sitting at number 2, it's probably better from a leverage standpoint for you to play the game a little bit, especially if the Patriots are sitting behind you at number 3. You don't want them thinking they can just camp out at 3 and you're not going to take a quarterback at number 2. Now, but you can still commit to Kyler Murray and trade the second pick if you want. Someone wants to leapfrog the New England Patriots. I wonder how, when that moment comes, if that moment comes, when they definitively declare Kyler Murray is our guy, he's going to be our quarterback in 2024, and that, as they say, is that. End the conversation. Do we get that moment?
Josh
at
is
the
our
end of the
guy?
season?
Josh is our guy?
Yeah, I know. Teams lie. Teams, I know. They lie.
But
they lie.
All right, the Josh is our guy would be a little different than Monty Ossenfort literally sitting down, looking in the camera and saying, Kyler Murray's going to be the quarterback of this team in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah. Because the Cardinals
We believe in him.
Yeah, the Cardinals would say, well, Josh was our guy, and then we just fell in love with Kyler during the process, and what were we supposed to do? We misread our hearts about what we thought about our quarterback.
But you're right, though, because of the potential trades that could loom, Monty's not going to show his hand.
You're better off not committing to Kyler at
course.
the end of the season. Even if you are committed to Kyler at the end of the season, you're better off not professing that, because I think if you're sitting in a position where, and I don't know where you stand on this. I mean, I have no idea how this is all going to play out. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Cardinals treated this year's draft exactly the same way they treated last year's draft. They'll be sitting there at 2 or 3, and while the fan base might be screaming for them to take Drake May or Marvin Harrison Jr., I wouldn't be surprised at all if they move down a couple of notches, get an extra first-round pick from somebody somewhere down the line so they can string this gravy train out in terms of extra first-round picks another year or two. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they do that.
God, man, it's certainly an option, but I've said this a few times.
Gambo feels the same way about this.
At some point, you need great players to win in this league.
He said that like 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but not that you can't trade down and get a great player at 6 or 7, but your transcendent wide receiver like
Larry Fitzgerald type,
like a Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, it's sooner or later, and Fitz ended up helping them to a Super Bowl a few years later. So I mean, those are the kind of guys you need at some point. Like, I understand why they did it last year. He was a maestro in that draft room, what he did. But at some point, you got to take the great player, especially when the great player like Harrison Jr. is regarded as one of these,
transcendent generational
wide receivers.
I read a review of him the other day, like I was looking at a movie review or something. I read a review of him the other day. Said he is a once in a 2 or 3 decade kind of receiver out there. Just
agree.
He's that good.
And along these other lines, who's to say what Monty Ossenfort really thinks about Caleb Williams and Drake May? Maybe he's not sold on those guys, and that factors into the Kyler decision. If they pick second and Drake May's there, maybe Monty Ossenfort has Drake May rated ahead of Caleb Williams. These are the things we don't know.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.